Hello, I'm Tony Stern of PropertyOnion.com. And if you spend any time looking at the foreclosure and tax deed markets in Florida or Ohio or really anywhere else in the country, you know that the auction floor is a place of incredible opportunity. But it's also a place where a single mistake can cost you your investment. So the biggest misconception I see is people thinking that a foreclosure auction is a reset button that wipes off the property clean of all debt. And I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not the case. When you bid at an auction, you aren't just buying a house, you are stepping into a very specific spot in a line of debt. If you don't know who's standing in front of you, in that line, you're going to get hurt. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 9 most common encumbrances that you'll find at a county foreclosure auction. And we're going to go in order of superiority from the apex predators that always get paid down to the bottom feeders that usually get wiped out. So all the way at the very top of the food chain, we have ad valorem property taxes. Think of these as the apex predator of the real estate world. These liens exist because the county needs its pound of flesh to fund schools, roads, and emergency services. And in the eyes of the law, the government always eats first. It doesn't matter if a bank recorded a mortgage 20 years ago. If the property taxes aren't paid, that tax lien jumps straight to the front of the line. And if you buy a property at a mortgage auction and there are 3 years of back taxes, guess what? Those taxes now become your problem. They stay attached to the land, not the person. So always check the tax collector's site before you even think about bidding. Sitting right next to property taxes are municipal and special assessment liens. These are what I call the silent killers. These usually come about when the city or county does work that specifically benefits the property, like putting in new sewer lines, paving the street, or in Florida, what we often see with CDDs, which means community development districts. These are what you've got to look out for because these are considered governmental in nature. They hold a superior priority status. They are almost impossible to wipe out in a standard foreclosure. So the danger here is that they can be massive. I mean, I've seen assessments of $30,000 to $40,000 that don't show up in a standard mortgage search. If you don't look for them, they will be waiting for you with a huge bill at the end of the day. So next up is the bit of a ghost in the machine, the IRS federal tax lien. These happen when the previous owner hasn't paid their federal income taxes. Now, technically, if a mortgage was recorded before the IRS lien, then the mortgage is superior. But the IRS has a special right of redemption. For 120 days after the auction, the IRS can actually step in, pay you exactly what you paid at the auction, and take the house away from you. They don't do it often, but that 120-day window means that you can't get clear title insurance or sell the property easily for 4 months. You're essentially babysitting the house for the government until the clock runs out. Now, we get to what most people consider the anchor of the auction, the first mortgage. This is the primary loan used to buy the home. In most auctions you're attending, this is the lien that is actually doing the foreclosing. The first mortgage is superior to almost everything else on the private side, like second mortgages or credit card judgments. When a first mortgage forecloses properly, it has the power to wipe out almost everything below it on the list. However, it cannot wipe out those property taxes or municipal liens we just talked about. If you are bidding on a first mortgage, you're usually in the safest position possible, provided you've accounted for the government share. Now, number 5 is where things start to get interesting and a little messy. We're talking about HOA and condo association liens. These arise because the owners stop paying their dues for services like the community pool or landscaping. In states like Florida, these associations have a lot of power through safe harbor laws. Here's the hierarchy. They are usually inferior to a first mortgage, but they have the right to foreclose on their own. This is where people get confused. An HOA can take a property all the way to auction, even if there is a massive first mortgage still sitting on it. You might win the house for $5,000, but you've actually just bought the right to take over the owner's spot in line, meaning you still owe the bank the entire first mortgage. This brings us to the absolute trap of the auction world: second mortgages and HELOCs. These are junior liens usually taken out after the first mortgage to pull equity out of the home. This is the number one way I see rookies lose their investments. They see a beautiful home going to auction. They see the bidding is only, say, $50,000 on a $400,000 home, and they jump in. What they don't realize is that they are bidding on a second mortgage foreclosure. When a junior lien like a second mortgage forecloses, it does not wipe out the first mortgage. If you win that auction, you now own a home that is still encumbered by a massive, in this case, first mortgage that you are now responsible for. If you don't pay that first mortgage, they will foreclose on you in the future. So always check the recording dates of the liens. If the mortgage you're bidding on was recorded after another one, you're playing with fire. So coming in at number 7 is what I call the contractor's revenge: construction or mechanic liens. These are filed by people who did work on the house, like roofers or perhaps plumbers or general contractors, and they never got paid. Now, generally, these are inferior to the first mortgage, following the rule of thumb, which is first in time, first in right. But there is a huge but here. If a contractor filed a notice of commencement before the mortgage was even recorded, they can actually leapfrog a bank and become superior. It's a rare knockout punch, but it's why we always tell people to look for those notices in the public records or in your PropertyOnion title report. But number 8 is the net. These are judgment leads that come from things completely unrelated to the house, like unpaid credit card bills, medical debt, or a lost lawsuit. When someone wins a judgment against you, they can record it in the county, and it attaches to any property you own here. So for the most part, these are the bottom of the priority list. They are always inferior to mortgages and taxes. And in a place like Florida, our homestead laws often protect a person's primary residence from these creditors. But if you're an investor buying a non-homestead property, these judgments are like weeds that you'll have to pull out during the title clearing process. Finally, at the bottom, we have the nuisance liens: code enforcement and utilities. These happen when the grass gets too high, the pool turns into a swamp, or the water bill goes unpaid. Now, while these are technically bottom feeders, in the hierarchy, do not underestimate them. Code enforcement fines can be $250 a day. If a house has been sitting in a messy foreclosure battle for 2 years, that fine could be over $100,000. Even though they are low in priority, many cities will refuse to turn on your water or give you a permit until these are settled. They might be at the bottom of the list, but they can still bite. Now, let's bring it all together and look at the lien priority list one last time. If you look at the top half of this chart, items 1 through 4, these are your superior liens. We're talking about your property taxes, those silent CDDs, the IRS, and the first mortgage. These are the heavy hitters. In almost every scenario, these are the liens that stay attached to the property. If you're the winning bidder, these are the people that you're going to be writing checks to. Now, look at that white line in the middle. That is the point of no return. Everything below it, item 5 through 9, you are talking about junior liens. These include the HOAs, those second mortgages, contractors, credit card judgments, and code enforcement fines. The rule of thumb is simple. If a first mortgage at number 4 forecloses, it has the power to wipe out everything below it. But, and this is the part that bites people, if you are bidding on an auction from, say, anything from number 5 down, you are effectively buying the property subject to everything above it. This chart is your roadmap. Use it, memorize it, and never ever bid on a property till you know exactly which number in this line that is actually doing the foreclosing. So there you have it, the 9 encumbrances that define the risk and reward of the county foreclosure auctions. The golden rule is to remember: a foreclosure auction only wipes out what is below it in the hierarchy. If you're bidding on a lien at level 6, everyone from level 1 through 5 is still standing in front of you, waiting to be paid. At PropertyOnion.com, our goal is to make sure you never walk into an auction blind. We do the deep dive into these records so you know exactly which liens are going to vanish and which ones are going to become your new best friends the moment you hit confirm bid. So remember, do your homework and respect the lien hierarchy. I'm Tony Stern, and I'll see you next time.